The city was alive with lights and noise. Flying vehicles zoomed overhead, neon signs blinked endlessly, and the smell of strange alien foods filled the air. Citizens of countless species hustled through the crowded streets, talking, laughing, arguing, and hurrying to their destinations. Amid this chaos, a small figure darted quietly along the edges of the bustling avenues. She was tiny, her greenish-blue skin shimmering faintly under the streetlights, her large eyes always alert. The alien girl had no family, no home, and no one to care for her. She lived entirely on the streets, surviving each day by finding whatever scraps of food she could. Despite her difficult life, she was careful and kind. She would share a piece of her meager bread with a hungry stray animal or help an elderly alien cross the street. Even the city's toughest gangs seemed to respect her courage. She had learned how to stay invisible in plain sight, how to move without drawing attention, and how to survive without losing her humanity. Every day was a struggle, but she carried herself with pride. She might have been small and alone, but she had a big heart. One evening, as the sun set behind the towering skyscrapers, casting long shadows across the streets, the girl rummaged through a pile of discarded food containers. The smell of stale bread and strange alien meat made her stomach grumble. She picked up a half-eaten pastry and took a careful bite, savoring the small comfort it brought. She was so focused on her meager meal that she almost missed the glint of something on the pavement nearby. At first, she thought it might be just another scrap of metal or a shiny piece of trash, but as she stepped closer, she saw that it was different. It was a wallet. A real wallet. The girl bent down and picked it up. It was made of a strange, smooth material that she had never seen before, and it felt heavy in her small hands. Curious, she opened it and gasped. Inside were cards, papers, and what looked like some kind of identification. There was also a small amount of credits, enough to buy her a full week's worth of food if she dared to take it. But she could not bring herself to pocket it. She had learned long ago that stealing, even just for survival, could bring trouble. More importantly, she knew that this wallet must belong to someone very important. The quality of the wallet and the documents inside made that very clear. For a moment, she hesitated. Returning it could be dangerous. The city was not kind to street children, and she was just a small alien girl in a world that would not notice her if she went missing. But something inside her whispered that she should do the right thing. She had survived this long by being careful, by helping others when she could, and by keeping her conscience clean. She could not ignore this chance to do something good. With a deep breath, she tucked the wallet safely into her tattered bag. She scanned the busy streets, wondering how she would find the owner. The city was huge, and finding a single person among millions seemed impossible. But she had learned to navigate the streets like a shadow. She knew where the richest districts were, where the officials and diplomats lived, and she knew how to move without drawing attention. Determination filled her chest. She would return this wallet, no matter how long it took or how difficult the journey might be. As she moved through the crowded avenues, the girl noticed other street kids staring at her. Some were curious, some suspicious. They had learned to survive by being wary of strangers, and seeing her carrying something so unusual drew their attention. She ignored them, focusing on her goal. She ducked into narrow alleys, climbed fire escapes, and slipped through side streets that few citizens bothered to notice. Hours passed, but she did not give up. Finally, she reached a part of the city where the buildings were taller, cleaner, and more imposing. Here, the streets were quieter, but the air felt heavier, filled with a sense of authority and wealth. This must be where the wallet's owner lived, she thought. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from excitement and anticipation. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope, a glimmer of something brighter than the constant struggle of the streets. She stopped for a moment to gather her courage. The wallet was heavy in her hands, but it felt like a weight of responsibility rather than burden. She thought about all the people who had helped her in small ways, like a stray dog that had once guided her to food, or a kind shopkeeper who gave her water when she was thirsty. They had trusted her, even though she was just a street child. Now it was her turn to be brave, to do the right thing, and to trust that honesty would lead her somewhere better. With a deep breath, the girl stepped forward, holding the wallet tightly. Her small figure moved confidently into the wealthy district, ready to face whoever owned this precious item. Little did she know, returning this wallet would change her life forever. It would be the beginning of an adventure that would take her far beyond the streets she had always known, into a world full of kindness, respect, and possibilities she had never imagined. And so, in the glowing lights of the city, the small alien girl took her first step toward a future that promised more than survival. It promised hope. The alien girl walked carefully through the wealthy district. Towering buildings of polished metal and glass gleamed under the city lights, and holographic signs flashed advertisements in languages she didn't fully understand. The streets here were cleaner, almost sterile, and fewer people walked around. The air felt different, heavy with authority and the quiet hum of security droids patrolling the area. Every step she took was measured. She didn't want to draw attention, but she also had to find the owner of the wallet. She stopped in front of a large building that seemed important. Guards in sharp uniforms stood at the entrance, their eyes scanning everyone who passed by. The girl's stomach tightened. She had never been this close to such a place, and the thought of being caught by the guards made her nervous. But she reminded herself of the wallet in her bag, the wallet that belonged to someone who had clearly lost something valuable. She could not turn back now. Taking a deep breath, she slipped past a side entrance that seemed less guarded. Inside, the building was cool and quiet. Expensive artwork lined the walls, and polished floors reflected the bright lights above. The girl paused in awe. She had never been inside a place like this, and for a moment, she almost forgot why she was here. But the wallet in her bag reminded her of her mission. She had to find the owner, return it, and hope that honesty would be rewarded. As she explored the halls, she overheard voices coming from a large room ahead. She peeked inside and saw a man in a finely tailored uniform sitting at a desk piled with papers and devices. His posture was tense, and he kept glancing around as if searching for something. The girl's heart skipped a beat. She knew immediately, this must be the wallet's owner. He was important, perhaps a diplomat or someone who handled critical matters for the city. She stepped forward cautiously, her small hands clutching the wallet tightly. "Excuse me," she called softly. The man looked up, startled. His eyes widened when he saw her, a small alien girl, thin and scrappy, standing nervously in the doorway. For a moment he said nothing. You found something?" he asked, his voice a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "Yes," the girl replied, holding out the wallet. "I found this on the street. I think it belongs to you." Her voice was small, but steady. She had practiced what she would say 100 times in her mind while walking here, and now that the moment had arrived, she spoke without hesitation. The diplomat stared at her, then at the wallet and finally back at her. He seemed shocked. You returned it?" he asked. "Even though it was lost on the street?" The girl nodded. "I thought it was important. I wanted to give it back." He leaned back in his chair, studying her closely. She could feel his gaze weighing her, analyzing every movement, every expression. She was used to people ignoring her or looking down at her, but this man looked at her differently. He seemed surprised, almost impressed. "You could have kept it," he said slowly. "You are small, alone, and you could have taken this wallet and no one would have known." "I know," the girl admitted, "but I didn't." She held her head high. "I wanted to return it." The diplomat smiled faintly, a hint of warmth in his eyes. "Most people wouldn't do what you did," he said. "But you showed courage. You showed honesty. That is rare in this city." For the first time in her life, the girl felt seen, not as a street child, not as an alien nobody, but as someone capable of doing something meaningful. Her heart swelled with pride, though she tried not to show it too much. She had survived by being careful and clever, but now she realized that her choices could also make a difference in the lives of others. The diplomat reached for the wallet and examined it, confirming that everything was intact. "Thank you," he said finally, returning it to his desk. "You did the right thing. I want you to know that your actions matter, even if the rest of the world doesn't see them." The girl's eyes widened. No one had ever spoken to her like this before. No one had ever treated her with respect or acknowledged her effort. She felt a strange warmth in her chest, a feeling she could not name but would never forget. "I thank you," she whispered. The diplomat stood and gestured to a small chair.
"Come, sit."
"You must be tired and hungry. I can offer you some food. Then we can talk more." The girl hesitated. She had learned to distrust kindness, to assume that offers like this always came with strings attached. But something in the man's eyes told her this was different. Slowly, she stepped forward and accepted the invitation, curious about the man who had been astonished by her honesty and unaware that this meeting would change her life forever. In that moment, the alien girl realized that returning the wallet had not just been an act of honesty, it had opened a door to a new world, and she was ready to step through it. The alien girl sat quietly in the diplomat's office, her small hands folded in her lap. The room was warm and filled with soft light, a stark contrast to the cold, crowded streets she had called home. She felt nervous but also strangely safe. For the first time in her life, someone had treated her with respect, not pity, not suspicion. The diplomat observed her quietly for a moment, as if trying to understand what made her different from the hundreds of other street children he had seen over the years. "You are brave," he said finally, breaking the silence. "Not many would return a lost wallet, especially not in a city like this." The girl looked down, unsure how to respond. She had been brave countless times on the streets, avoiding gangs, sneaking past guards, finding food in trash, but no one had ever called her brave before. It felt strange and nice all at once. "I just did what I thought was right," she said softly. The diplomat smiled. "Exactly. That is what makes you remarkable. Courage and honesty, qualities this city often forgets. You have shown both." For a moment, they sat in silence. Outside, the city's hum continued, but inside, the room was calm. The diplomat reached into a drawer and pulled out a small tray with food, something simple, but far more than the girl had eaten in days. She hesitated, unsure if she was allowed to eat it. The diplomat noticed her hesitation. "Please," he said gently, "you deserve this." With careful hands, she accepted the food. The warmth and aroma of it made her stomach rumble even more. As she ate, the diplomat watched her with a thoughtful expression. He had seen many children in need, but few with the resilience and heart that this girl displayed. After she finished, he leaned back in his chair and regarded her seriously. "Tell me," he said, "why did you return the wallet? You could have kept the credits inside, or ignored it completely. What made you come here?" The girl thought for a moment. She had never been asked such a question before, and the truth was simple. "I don't know," she admitted. "I just felt it was the right thing to do. I wanted to help." The diplomat nodded slowly. "I see. That is a rare quality. Most people do things for themselves first. But you act for others, even when it's risky." He paused, studying her small, determined face. "You have more courage and integrity than many adults I know." The girl felt a warmth she had never experienced before. No one had ever spoken to her like this. On the streets, people either ignored her, threatened her, or tried to take what little she had. Yet this man treated her with respect. She felt important for the first time. The diplomat stood and walked toward a large window overlooking the city. "This city can be harsh," he said. "It's full of people who care only for themselves. But there are those who notice acts of honesty and bravery, like yours. They remember them. And sometimes those acts can change everything." The girl's eyes widened. "Really?" she asked. She had learned to doubt anyone's words, especially promises of kindness. "Yes," the diplomat replied. "Your actions today prove that even one small person can make a difference. You returned this wallet, and in doing so, you have changed the course of your own life, and perhaps even the lives of many others." For the first time, the girl allowed herself to believe that life could be different. Maybe she didn't have to struggle alone anymore. Maybe there were people in this city who could see her worth, beyond her size, her alien appearance, or the fact that she lived on the streets. The diplomat moved closer and placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "I want to help you," he said. "Not because I owe you anything, but because I see your potential. You have a good heart. You are clever, brave, and honest. Those qualities are rare, and they should be nurtured, not wasted. The girl's eyes filled with tears, though she blinked quickly to hide them. No one had ever offered her help like this before. No one had ever acknowledged her for who she was, rather than where she came from. Why would you help me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Because," he said simply, "I believe in people like you. People who act with honesty and courage, even when no one is watching. And I want to give you a chance to use your gifts, to grow, and to live a life that is more than survival." The girl felt a mix of fear and excitement. Life on the streets had taught her to distrust, to rely only on herself. Yet here was someone offering her trust, guidance, and safety. It was overwhelming, but she sensed that this was a turning point. The diplomat smiled, sensing her hesitation. "Take your time," he said. "But know this, you have opened a door today. A door that leads to something greater. And I will be here to help you step through it if you choose." For the first time in her life, the alien girl believed in hope. The wallet she had found on the streets had done more than lead her to its owner. It had led her to someone who saw her true value. And in that moment, she realized that life could be more than survival. It could be purpose, kindness, and maybe even happiness. The room was quiet, save for the soft hum of the city outside. But inside, a small alien girl and a powerful diplomat had begun a connection that neither of them would ever forget. The alien girl could hardly believe her eyes. For the first time in her life, she was sitting at a table with food laid out before her. Not scraps, not leftovers, but a proper meal. Warm bread, steaming dishes of unfamiliar but delicious aromas, and even a small cup of something sweet to drink. She stared at it for a moment, unsure where to start. On the streets, meals were scarce, and kindness was rarer still. The diplomat watched her quietly, a gentle smile on his face. "Eat," he said softly. "You've earned it. You return my wallet. That is no small thing, especially for someone your age." The girl hesitated, then carefully picked up a piece of bread. She tasted it slowly, savoring every bite. Her stomach rumbled in gratitude. She hadn't realized how hungry she was until the warmth and flavor of the food filled her senses. The diplomat waited patiently, never rushing her, never looking down on her. It was as if he genuinely cared. When she finished, he spoke again. "You've lived on the streets for a long time. I can tell by the way you watch people, how careful you are, and the courage you carry in your heart. But surviving alone doesn't have to be your only option anymore." The girl looked at him, puzzled. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he said, "that I can offer you a place to stay, at least for now. Somewhere safe, where you won't have to worry about finding food or avoiding danger every day. Somewhere you can learn, grow, and even dream." She blinked, unsure she understood. Dreams were dangerous on the streets. They only left you disappointed. "Why would you do that for me?" she asked softly. "Because you showed me something important today," he replied. "You reminded me that honesty and courage still exist in this world, even in places where people forget such things. I want to give you a chance to see that kindness can exist too. You've earned it." The alien girl felt her heart tighten. No one had ever said such words to her. No one had ever offered her anything without demanding something in return. She wanted to believe him, but fear and caution still lingered from years of hardship. Seeing her hesitation, the diplomat leaned forward gently. "You don't have to decide right now. But know this, you are not alone anymore. I can help you, and I will if you let me." For the first time in her life, the girl felt a flicker of hope. Maybe she didn't have to live on the streets forever. Maybe someone could see her for who she truly was, not just the small, scrappy alien living in the shadows of the city. She wanted to believe it, and deep down, she did. Over the next few days, the diplomat showed her what life could be like beyond the streets. He gave her a warm bed to sleep in, a shower with clean water, and a small room filled with simple comforts. She had never known such luxury, but it was more than that. The diplomat treated her with respect, speaking to her as an equal, not a child to be scolded or pitied. He also began teaching her small things about the world she had never known. Letters, numbers, and words, things she had only glimpsed on signs and documents while scavenging. She learned quickly, eager to absorb every new detail. It amazed her how much more she could understand now that she had guidance and support. Even more remarkable was the way the diplomat treated her daily. He asked her opinions, listened to her thoughts, and included her in small decisions. She began to realize that the world wasn't just about surviving, it could be about learning, sharing, and contributing. She felt something she had never felt on the streets: purpose. One afternoon, as they walked through the city together, the diplomat stopped and looked at her. "I want you to understand something," he said. "Your actions have meaning. You have the power to influence others, even if you don't realize it yet. By being brave and honest today, you've already started to change people's hearts, starting with mine." The girl's eyes widened. She never thought of herself as powerful. She was just a small alien girl who had survived by being careful and clever. Yet, hearing those words from someone she trusted made her feel stronger than she ever had. That evening, she sat by the window in her small room, looking out over the city lights. The streets where she had once scavenged seemed distant and almost unreal now. She thought about the wallet, about the choice she had made to return it, and about the man who had offered her kindness instead of punishment. For the first time, she believed that life could be more than surviving day to day. It could be about trust, hope, and even happiness. The diplomat knocked gently on the door and entered with a smile. "Sleep well tonight," he said. "You've earned it. And tomorrow, we'll continue to explore what's possible for you." The alien girl nodded, feeling a warmth she had never known before. She realized that the wallet she had returned had done more than bring her food or safety. It had opened the door to a new life, one filled with opportunity, guidance, and kindness. And for the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a future that wasn't defined by hunger, danger, or loneliness, but by hope. And so, in the quiet of the diplomat's home, the small alien girl began to dream for the first time, not of surviving, but of living. The next morning, the alien girl woke to the soft light filtering through her small room. For the first time in years, she had slept peacefully, without the fear of the streets pressing down on her. The city outside buzzed with its usual activity, but inside the diplomat's home, there was calm, a calm that felt strange yet comforting. She had begun to understand that this place, this person, offered something she had never experienced: trust. After breakfast, the diplomat called her into the main office. "I want to show you something today," he said, his voice kind but serious. He handed her a small pouch filled with credits. "I need you to deliver this to a contact across the city. It is very important that it reaches them safely and without delay." The girl's eyes widened. "I can do that?" she asked hesitantly. She had never been trusted with anything so important. On the streets, every responsibility was about survival, and every task came with risk. Yet something in the diplomat's gaze encouraged her to try. "You can," he said firmly. "I am giving you a chance to prove that your honesty and courage are more than words. Your actions can have a real impact." She nodded, holding the pouch carefully. She knew this task was more than a delivery. It was a test of her character. She had returned the wallet honestly. Now, she would show that she could be trusted with even greater responsibility. As she left the building, the bustling city seemed more intimidating than ever. She weaved through crowded streets, careful to avoid the attention of merchants, guards, and thieves. Her eyes stayed on the pouch, making sure it remained secure. Along the way, she encountered street children, hungry and desperate, who noticed the pouch and whispered among themselves. Some glanced at her with suspicion, others with envy. She ignored them all, her mind focused entirely on completing the task. Hours passed as she navigated the city's maze-like alleys and towering structures. At one point, she faced a dilemma. A shortcut took her through a dark alley where shady figures loitered. It would save time, but it could be dangerous. The girl hesitated, considering the risk. Her survival instinct screamed to avoid danger, but she also remembered the diplomat's words. Integrity mattered. She chose the longer, safer path, keeping the pouch secure and avoiding trouble. Finally, She reached the contact's office, a modest building tucked between two massive skyscrapers. She knocked, and a friendly voice called her in. She handed over the pouch, and the contact examined it carefully. "Everything is intact," they said, smiling. "Thank you for your honesty and care. Not everyone would have done this so faithfully." Relief washed over the girl, but she also felt a quiet pride. She had completed the task, not for reward, but because she understood the importance of doing what was right. This was new to her. On the streets, life had been about survival and quick thinking, not responsibility or trust. Yet now, she realized that her actions could matter to others, and that gave her a sense of strength she had never known. When she returned to the Diplomat, he was waiting with a warm smile. "I see you completed the task," he said. "And not only that, you did it with thought, care, and integrity. I am very impressed." The girl felt a small blush of pride. "I just tried to do my best," she said. "Your best is extraordinary," the Diplomat replied. "Many adults would fail this test. But you proved that honesty, courage, and thoughtfulness are not just words for you. They are actions. And that is the most valuable quality a person can have." Over the next few days, the Diplomat continued to challenge her gently, giving her small tasks that required careful thinking, honesty, and quick decision-making. She learned to handle responsibility and discovered talents she had never realized she possessed. Her intelligence, resourcefulness, and bravery shone brightly, impressing not only the Diplomat but also the household staff, who had initially been skeptical of the small alien girl. One evening, as they walked through a quiet garden, the Diplomat looked at her thoughtfully. "Do you understand now?" he asked. "Honesty and courage are powerful, but so is responsibility. By proving yourself in these ways, you are showing the world what you are capable of. You have the potential to accomplish far more than mere survival." The girl nodded, feeling a swell of determination. "I want to learn," she said. "I want to be better. Not just for me, for others too." "That is exactly why you will succeed," he said. "You care about more than yourself. That is rare. And that is why your future will be extraordinary." That night, as she lay in her warm bed, the alien girl reflected on the journey so far. Returning the wallet had been just the beginning. Now, through trust, guidance, and small acts of courage, she was discovering a new life, a life where her actions could make a difference, where honesty and bravery were rewarded, and where her potential was limitless. For the first time, she felt that the streets were behind her, and the future stretched out like a bright, open sky, full of possibilities she had never dared to imagine. The weeks passed, and the alien girl's life began to change in ways she had never imagined. No longer a street urchin, she now had a safe place to sleep, regular meals, and the guidance of someone who truly believed in her. But the biggest change wasn't the comfort or the safety, it was the recognition of her character. Word of her honesty and courage spread quietly at first, through the Diplomat's colleagues and household staff. Stories traveled about the small alien girl who had returned the lost wallet and later carried out critical tasks with care and integrity. People were amazed. In a city where most acted only for personal gain, her actions shone like a rare gem. She became a symbol, not of wealth or power, but of honesty, bravery, and kindness. One morning, the Diplomat invited her to accompany him to a gathering at the city council. It was a place she had only ever glimpsed from a distance, where important decisions were made and influential people met. Her heart raced as she entered the grand hall, her small hands clutching the hem of her simple clothes. The air smelled of polished metal and ink, and the voices of officials discussing matters of the city echoed around the high ceilings. The Diplomat led her to the front, introducing her to the council members. "This is the young alien girl I told you about," he said proudly. "She has shown us all what courage and honesty can achieve, even in the harshest circumstances." The girl's eyes widened as the council members turned to look at her. Some nodded in respect, others smiled warmly. She felt a mix of nervousness and pride. Never in her life had anyone treated her with such respect. In the streets, people ignored her existence. Here, she was acknowledged for who she was and what she had done. One of the council members stepped forward and handed her a small medallion. "For your bravery, integrity, and service to the city," the member said. "Your actions remind us that even the smallest among us can make a difference. You have inspired all of us." The alien girl held the medallion in her hands, her eyes shining. She had never imagined receiving such recognition. It was more than a reward. It was validation that her choices mattered, that her honesty and courage had power beyond her own life. The diplomat smiled at her. "See," he said softly, "your actions can change the world. Not everyone gets recognition, but what you do still has meaning. And now others can see it too." For the first time, the girl began to understand the ripple effect of her deeds. By returning a lost wallet, she had demonstrated her integrity. By completing the tasks the diplomat had entrusted to her, she had proven her reliability and intelligence. And now, those around her recognized her potential. She realized that honesty and courage were not just virtues. They were tools that could open doors and build trust. In the following days, she continued to learn and grow. The diplomat taught her about city politics, intergalactic trade, and the importance of ethical choices. She absorbed every lesson, eager to improve herself. With each new skill, she felt stronger and more capable. She began helping the diplomat in small ways, organizing documents, assisting with messages, and even advising him on matters where her unique perspective offered insights others missed. But more than skills or recognition, the alien girl discovered something deeper, a sense of belonging. She was no longer invisible, no longer just another street child scraping for survival. She was part of a community, valued for her actions and her character. That realization gave her confidence and hope, emotions she had rarely allowed herself to feel. One afternoon, as they walked together through the city gardens, the diplomat looked at her with a thoughtful expression. "Do you see now?" he asked. "Your choices, your integrity, and your courage, they have value far beyond what you imagined. People notice them, and the world responds. You've created ripples that reach farther than you know." The girl smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She thought about the wallet she had returned, the journey she had taken, and the trust the diplomat had placed in her. Each step had led her here, to recognition, respect, and the beginnings of a life she had never dared to dream of. That evening, as she placed the medallion carefully on her small bedside table, she reflected on how much her life had changed in such a short time. From the streets to the diplomat's home, from fear and hunger to trust and opportunity, every choice she had made had brought her here. And she understood something important. The world could be harsh, yes, but acts of honesty and courage had the power to transform not only her life, but the lives of everyone around her. For the first time, she felt truly proud of herself. She had survived, yes, but more than that, she had thrived. She had taken the first steps toward a future filled with hope, purpose, and the knowledge that her actions mattered. And in the quiet glow of her room, the alien girl smiled, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might throw her way, knowing that she was capable of greatness. The alien girl woke to a gentle morning light streaming through her window. The city outside buzzed as usual, but inside her room, there was a calm she had never known. For the first time, she didn't have to worry about surviving another day. She had a warm bed, regular meals, and someone who believed in her. Yet, more than comfort, she felt something she had never experienced before: purpose. The diplomat greeted her in the kitchen with a warm smile.
"Good morning," he said.
"Today, I want to show you something special." Curious, she followed him out of the house and into the streets she had once known all too well. The contrast was striking. She remembered the dark alleys, the crowded markets, the days spent scavenging for scraps. Now, walking beside the diplomat, she felt confident and strong. She was no longer invisible, no longer alone. He led her to a large hall filled with officials, citizens, and dignitaries. The girl's eyes widened. This was a recognition ceremony, not just for her deeds, but for the values she embodied: honesty, courage, and kindness. The diplomat spoke proudly about her journey, From a scrappy street child to someone who had inspired change through a single act of integrity. The alien girl stood quietly as the audience applauded. She felt overwhelmed, but proud. She had never imagined being celebrated, not for survival, not for cleverness, but simply for doing what was right. The medallions, certificates, and kind words from the citizens were more than tokens. They were proof that her life had purpose beyond mere survival. After the ceremony, the diplomat took her aside. "Do you see what your actions can achieve?" he asked. One simple choice, returning a wallet, led to this. You've inspired people, created trust, and shown that even the smallest person can make a difference in the galaxy. The girl nodded, tears welling in her eyes. She understood now that life was not just about enduring hardship. It was about making choices that mattered, about acting with honesty and courage, and about helping others whenever possible. Days turned into weeks, and her life continued to blossom. The diplomat introduced her to new experiences, learning about intergalactic trade, diplomacy, and the cultures of distant worlds. She discovered she had a talent for understanding people, for mediating disputes, and for making quick, clever decisions under pressure. Her small size, once a disadvantage, became an asset. She could navigate spaces others could not, notice details that went unseen, and approach problems from a fresh perspective. More importantly, she began to help others in ways she had never imagined. Street children, once like her, now received guidance, food, and protection thanks to her influence. Citizens who had once ignored the struggles of the vulnerable began to pay attention, inspired by the story of the small alien girl who had returned a wallet and changed the lives of everyone she met. One evening, as she and the diplomat watched the sunset over the city's skyline, she reflected on her journey. From the streets to recognition, from fear and isolation to trust and purpose, every step had mattered. She had learned that honesty, courage, and kindness could transform a life. Not just her life, but the lives of countless others. "I never imagined life could be like this," she said softly, her eyes on the horizon. "It can," the diplomat replied, "but it begins with choices. You made the right choice when you returned my wallet. That decision set you on a path to greatness." She smiled, understanding finally that her life was no longer defined by survival alone. It was defined by the impact she could make, the lives she could touch, and the legacy she could leave. The city was no longer just a place of struggle. It was a world full of possibilities, adventure, and hope. The alien girl knew that challenges would come, that life was never without difficulties. But now she faced them with courage, wisdom, and confidence. She was no longer just a small figure in the shadows. She was someone who mattered, someone capable of shaping her own destiny and inspiring others to do the same. As the stars began to twinkle above the city, the girl felt a sense of peace she had never known. She had survived the streets, yes, but more importantly, she had thrived. She had discovered trust, kindness, and the strength within herself. And as the diplomat placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, she realized that this was only the beginning of a life filled with hope, purpose, and endless possibilities. From the streets to the stars, the alien girl had taken her first steps toward a future she had never dared to imagine, and she knew she would never look back.